Hey, let's dive right in. Hello, everyone. How you guys doing? Good. Happy Tuesday, June 10th. The Vector Summer is right underway. So, welcome. And I know that some of you know each other, and some of you, this might be the first time where you get to put some names to faces or some names to some reports that maybe you've seen or on Vector Connect or newsletters. But the purpose of our gathering today with key staff is I wanted to support your managers, whether you're in the pilot with Joaquin, Hoover with Clarice, Kelowna with Ava, Airdrie, Edmonton. I wanted to be able to support our managers by giving a space for either people that are already a part of key staff, and also, I've also invited people that maybe haven't hit key staff, but they're on pace and are going to do that really rapidly. So, welcome. And I'm excited to give you guys some of my time today. And there's a lot that I feel I can teach you right now in the summer, no matter where you're at in the business. Some of you, you've already won scholarships and you've already built a reputation as a sales champ in our business. And what you're going to hear today are some things that are going to help continue to grow your skill set so that you can keep growing your sales. Some of you here are very new, but you got off to a strong start with Vector and you maybe had a $10,000 fast start or you had a solid fast start and you've accelerated into being a part of Key Staff. And there's a portion of you that know what you need to do to get the business and the success you want this summer. But some of this stuff that I'm going to share today and for our next couple key staff meetings leading up to the SC2 push will be really great reminders as you keep building your business. Okay. So before we dive right in, we're going to go from highest CPO to lowest. And I'm going to have you guys share an update. Okay. And here's the update. Okay. So I'm going to put it in the chat so that way you're not like, whoa, what do I say again? Okay. So I'm going to put it in the chat right now. So you're going to share first your career sales, then you're going to share your demo or appointment. Appointment. I know some of you do service calls. So appointment and sales goal this week. Okay. Then you're going to share if you've already thought through your summer goal. I'm going to give you a platform to share your summer goal. Here's how much I want to sell this summer. And then I'll give you an option to either share some hot news. So something that has been going well in your vector business. So if you need to be the good finder, be the good finder. And or I'll give you a platform to share what I've I'll put it in quotes here, what I've learned recently. Okay, so the template's in the chat. So we're gonna go from highest CPO. I know your guys' sales, so I'll tell you when you're up. You're going to say, hello, everyone. My name is career sales, appointment, sales goal this week, summer goal, hot news, and or what I've learned recently that's going to make an impact in my business this summer. You guys cool with that? Awesome. Okay. Feel free to share. And I'll give you guys like a minute, minute and a half each to share. It'll be pretty quick. So it doesn't need to be like a TED Talk or anything. All right. Okay. All right. This one's pretty close, but Tegan, you'll go first. Go ahead.
My CPO is 199,784. My summer goal is 150K. My week goal is 15 demos. And what's been exciting or hot news is having lots of demos, maybe more than I usually do, booked in advance, I'd say.
How many do you have booked up so far?
Well, 4, but I usually don't have that many.
Okay, great. So you've got 4 booked up and your goal's 15 this week?
Yes.
Awesome. And then what's your sales goal this week? So your demo goal is 15. What's the sales goal attached to that?
Probably 7K.
Okay. And then what was your piece of hot news?
Oh,
Demo's booked this week. Yes. Awesome. Okay.
yeah.
All right, let's give Tegan one clap on 2. 1, 2. Tegan, you should share. I'm going to create a group chat with just us guys with key staff in WhatsApp. It'll just be CanRock Key Staff. I'd love for you to share with everyone your vision board that you have with your Bronco on there and the records you want to break. That'd be cool for you to share that. Cool. Okay, Mr. Bayless, number one scholarship winner last summer. Back from school, back from playing hockey, getting ready to rip it for the summer. And guys, if there's a section that you're like, I don't know yet, like maybe you haven't finalized your summer goal, just say I don't know yet, and then I can help you come up with one, or your manager can help you. Okay. Okay, go ahead, Carson.
Uh, that's awesome, Tegan. Great job on the start. Um, yeah, so I'm Carson. I think my sales, I don't know the exact number. I think it's like 155, 53K or something like that. Um, my appointment and sales goal this week coming up is just going for like 8 and probably like 3,000 ish, maybe 4,000. Um, and my summer goal, I'm kind of in and out of Calgary for the summer and have some other stuff I need to do, but it is going to be 40,000. And I guess some hot news is just that I'm back. Yeah, it was a long year. Typically I'm back a lot earlier than this and have a lot longer of a summer, but I'm back and I'm ready to rip it up and hopefully meet you guys in person at some point and yeah, start shipping some blades.
Yeah, for context, guys, Carson plays hockey in Amherst, right?
Yeah, just in Massachusetts though.
Massachusetts, Northeast USA there. All right, let's give Carson one clap on two. 1, 2. Who would be next? It would be. Oh, the other Carson. Carson McMillan. There we go.
Yeah. Um, Great job, Carson, on the 150,000, carrying the Carson name there. So my career sales are a little over 28,000. Um, my appointment sales goals this week, I want to try and get 15 booked. I've got 2. And then I'm hoping to sell somewhere around 5K. And then my summer goal is 100,000, so that Red Oscar. And this morning I put in a $500 customer order and I'm building a custom gourmet right now.
Nice. Can I give you a tiny adjustment? Are you okay?
Yes,
So you said I'm trying to do 15 and I hope to sell 3 grand.
I'm
So
going to do 15.
yeah, I know it sounds like voodoo and like very minor, but when you're convicted and you know like hell or high water, I'm getting 15 demos done, Carson, and you go, I'm gonna get 15 done this week, and my goal is to sell 3,000. Pay attention, team, to the language you use when you're thinking and talking about your goals this summer, because that matters. Okay, so you've got 2 out of your 15 books so far. Is that right? So you got to get 13 more booked up. Great. And then just under 30 grand, which means you're not too far away from your 40% promotion, right? Which is exciting. And then a Red Oscar summer would be pretty cool. All right. Okay, let's give Carson one clap on 2. 1, 2. Okay, then it would be Kessler. You'd be next. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Kesla. Good job, Carson. My demo goal this week is to do 6. My CPO is 20,857. And I want to sell 3,143. That'll be my next promotion. And that's in these 6 appointments. And then my summer goal is 50K. And something that's gone good this week, I have a demo and sharpening appointment booked for tomorrow. So
Great. So you're
good.
2 out of your 6 already. So you got to get 4 more booked to hit your goal. And then you are also inching your way to bonus land, which is exciting. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's give Kessler one clap on 2. 1, 2. And then it would be Chevy. You'd be next. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Siobhan. My current CPO is 17,400 something. And my demo goal this week is 10 demos. I have 7 booked up already. And I want to sell $1,000. CPO.
Nice.
And my hot news, I've gotten pretty good at or better at referrals this past week. So I'm really psyched about that. And my summer goal is 50K.
Awesome. Referrals equals future revenue. Love it, Chevy. Okay. And then you got 3 more to hit your goal for the week. So cool that you already have 7. There's a good chance you complete 10 that you'll blow past 1,000. So good job. Okay. Let's give Chevy one clap on 2. 1, 2. Did you do any field training last week? Did anyone do field training last week too? Okay. One of the things, I'll just bring it up right now, is with all of you being a part or are very close to being a part of Key Staff in CanRock Division, how many of you ever heard a mentor or a coach or someone say to you that you don't need a title to be a leader? Right? And in life, we don't need that's part of being a Key Staff is you learning that, hey, for you to be a leader and to be able to make a positive impact on other people's lives this summer, you can do that through your actions and through selling a lot of Cutco. You'll inspire other people in your offices to sell a lot of Cutco too. And field training is a really great way to do that. I just think about Courtney, you taking Tasneem field training 2 weeks ago. I know the conversation she's had with Joaquin is that she watched you do the demo and it really made a difference, right? So I'm going to encourage you guys that, one of the things that we do in CanRock is leaders proactively leading. Like we send the elevator back down, right? Okay. That was Chevy. Thanks, Chevy. And then 17, Jade, you'd be next.
Hi, my name is Jade. I'm at 14K. This week I want to do 9 presentations, sell 2K. My summer goal is 25K, the bronze Oscar, and some hot news. This morning I did 10 before 10, so I booked up a demo.
So awesome. Do you guys know what that is? 10 before 10 is 10 calls before 10 a.m. Love it. Okay, let's give Jade one clap on 2. 1, 2. Love it, Jade. So you got 1 demo out of your 9 book this week? Okay, lovely. So 8 more to go. Okay, Morgan, you're next.
I'm Morgan. From my sales last week added up, I'm at 15,728. And I have 7 appointments booked and I'm trying to do 25. And what's the next one? Sales, I'm trying to do 5,000 this week. And my summer goal is to sell 60,000 or do 200 demos. And hot news, I sold a galley set yesterday. That's the most recent.
Nice.
And got 15 referrals.
Even more hot. Awesome. Okay, great job, Morgan. Let's give Morgan one clap on 2. 1, 2. 15 leads. It's like that one time, guys, when I sold my first homemaker and I didn't ask for referrals. I share the story quite a bit. And I called my manager. I was like, I just sold a homemaker. She's like, how many referrals did you get? I was like, I didn't ask. She's like, get back in there and ask, right? So even better than the sale is the sale with the leads, right? Awesome. Thanks, Morgan. And then we got Liam. I know your camera's usually broken, but I think you're there, right, Liam?
I'm there. The camera
Okay.
it just for Zoom it doesn't work. For Google Meet it's fine. I don't know why Zoom doesn't work. So overall, before today I was about 10,329 in career sales.
What is
Today,
that with today? What'd you sell today?
today I did sell 478 in CPO,
Nice.
which brings me to a total of plus 4 10,807 in CPO, and I'm $1,200 away from the 30% promotion.
30% promotion. 30. Here we go. Okay.
30. My appointment sales goal this week. So my appointment, I'm 10 appointments.
Yeah.
Total of $3,000 in sales. Just did one at $458 from that appointment.
Nice.
I got 2 more booked so far.
Okay. So you did one today, 2 more books, so you're at 3 out of 10. So you got to get 7
Yeah,
more.
10. So I had 7 books, 7 more.
Okay, awesome. And then summer goal?
Summer goal. I know what 100K, but 50K at minimum.
Okay, gotcha. So 50K bare butt minimum. Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, and then your hot news or something you learned recently.
Something I learned recently was like there'll always be good days and bad days. Like even if you have a few no sales in a row, doesn't mean you give up.
Yeah,
Because
love
like
it.
they could just come back and they always have me.
Awesome.
The rep.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, let's give Liam one clap on 2, 1, 2. Liam, you followed me on Instagram. Dude, you are ripped.
Yeah,
That is
I'm
awesome.
competing. That's why. Like honestly, back then I was like I was 168 back then, and now I'm 157.
Oh, wow. So you're more chiseled now.
I'm even more chiseled. Like I'm like right now I'm like I'm maintaining most of my strength still.
Cool. Awesome. Love it. Okay. We got Finn. You'd be next. Go ahead, Finn.
My name's Finn. My career sales is 9,054. I have 2 appointments booked right now, and I'm going to do 10 appointments this week. My summer goal is to sell $50,000 or 50,000 CPO. And then what I've learned recently is just the importance of consistency. And like I've been like super busy, like I just had grad and stuff, and I obviously haven't been selling that much, so it's just like through even while you're busy, just being consistent is super, super important. So
Love it.
that's what I've learned.
My man. All right. Let's give Finn one clap on 2, 1, 2. And then Courtney, bring us home.
Hi, my name is Courtney. My current career sales is 6,100, but I did sell a gourmet set I think 2 days ago, so it's I think just over 7,000 now once it updates. My appointment goal for this week is 10 appointments, and I have 2 booked so far. My summer goal is 40K, and some hot news. I'm taking someone on field training for my demo today, and I took Margarita field training last week as well.
The girl you're taking today has had way too many no sales, so please help her. Please.
Okay.
So when you guys, this is also a great spot for when you get an opportunity to field train someone, is before the field training, you do a little like, hey, this is how it's going to work. Just sit off to the side, grab a pen and paper. Don't say anything. Even if you feel like piping up, like obviously if the customer asks what your name is, say something, but you just sit off to the side, and after we'll be able to debrief it. So if you have any questions for me after, we can go through that and take it from there. Does that sound good? So way to be a leader there. Okay, let's give Courtney one clap on 2, 1, 2. Okay, let's dive right in. You guys ready? So today, Key Staff will come in 2 parts. So grab your pen and paper because I'm going to fly through this. I want to give you guys as much value as possible before 4 o'clock Mountain. And so the first part is we're going to talk about what are the key habits of building a business, not just selling Cutco, but now that you're in Key Staff, one of the shifts that you can make that will help enable more sales success is not viewing selling Cutco this summer like a hobby, but viewing it like you're running a business. And when you view it that way, you treat it differently. And instead of getting hobby income, you get business-like income. So what are the habits that make sales reps really successful, right? And that's oftentimes you guys will see some of the top reps in the company get glorified and recognized for their sales achievements. And what you have to understand beneath that is that they practice habits on a daily basis that make them successful. Does that make sense? So go ahead and jot down success leaves clues. And so why am I able to come to you with this workshop today is because we've studied the most successful business owners in Vector and their habits. And I want to share with you what habits can you practice this summer that will get you to that level of success quicker. So let's dive right in. And then the second part of Key Staff today is many of you, if you haven't already, have either been given the opportunity to speak at a team meeting, conference, division meeting, workshop, or you'll get the opportunity to speak. And I want to make sure that I give you guys the fundamental teachings on how to deliver a message, how to public speak. And so this will serve, and you guys will have the document. It'll serve as like a basically fundamentals on how to give a message. So I'll give you guys some keys so that when you are asked, if ever you're asked, which by the way, if ever you're asked to speak at a meeting or a conference or a division meeting or blank, you should really view it as a compliment, right? Because I remember when I was new and my manager was like, "Can you give a message at the team meeting on how to sell more homemakers?" I was like, "Me? I don't even know. I just started." And my manager was like, "The reason I'm asking you is because you've sold 5 homemakers. Like, that's why I want you to give a message." So you can always view it as a compliment if you're asked to speak and give back. And it's also a really great platform for you to practice public speaking, right? So that's why I'm going to be covering the workshop today, because think of it this way. Your friends that work at Canadian Tires, not Tires, Tire, Canadian Tire, Timmy, like they don't really get that platform or that opportunity to practice those skills, but here you do. So when you get an opportunity, just like you did last week, Finn, you did a phenomenal job, take advantage of that and soak it all in. Okay. So let's dive right in. So these are some key foundational habits for building your business. Okay. So go ahead and jot down. Number 1 is you got to learn key skills. And the first key skill you have to learn is critical time management skills. So the first thing under that is have a system. So it doesn't matter what your system is, you need to make sure you have one. So I've seen reps really get good at using Google Calendar. If that's your system, awesome. Just make sure you have one. I've also seen reps. I know some of you have heard of like a passion planner or a day planner. Get some type of a planner. My suggestion is that you get a planner where you can see the week at a glance. Because when you're not only when you want to crush it in Cutco, but when you want to have a fulfilled life outside of work too, one of the keys to being able to do that is to have a schedule, right? Because if it's not in the schedule, then my realtor even said this to me the other day. He's like, "John, if it's not in the schedule, it doesn't happen. Let me put it in my schedule." I was like, "We say that at Vector. It needs to be in the schedule, because if it's not in the schedule, then it usually just doesn't happen." Right? So having a system where you have you're managing your time. And why is it important to have something that's either pen or paper or a Google Calendar? It's because there's only so much information we can store up here. There's only so much, and you actually don't want to store it up here because you want to use this for the most important activities, right? Right? So when you can get things out of here and put them either on pen and paper or into a calendar, it allows you to execute through your day better. Right? So rather than thinking, "Man, when should I make calls?" Or, "Man, how many," like, it just allows you to be one step ahead that way. And at a minimum, at a bare butt minimum, you got to be mapped out at least 10 days in advance. Right? And part of my message today is viewing your opportunity as a business versus hobby income. You'll get business income. Think of it this way. Have you ever booked a hair appointment, a dentist appointment, and your dentist was like, "Hey, Finn, oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the schedule looks like. What do you think? What does your schedule look like, Finn?" Like, no, they know. They're like, "Finn, we're really busy. You can come at this day at that time or this day at that time. What works better for you?" Right? And so having those time management skills allows you to do that. And you actually want to dictate when to do the demos. When we're new, a lot of the times what we do is we are like, "Hey, Miss Johns, like, when can you squeeze me in?" Or like, "Can you make it work?" But as you continue to evolve, you want to treat it like a business. And again, if you're going to book a hair appointment or a dentist appointment, they're not going to ask you, when it works with your schedule, they're going to offer you times. So by having your schedule mapped out before you start setting up appointments, you can do that for your customers. You can offer them slots and say, hey, Miss Jones, I'm really busy. I could see you here or here. What would work better for you? Right. And then now it's almost like because your schedule is you're operating and you're making the phone call in scarcity with your time, your customers are like, man, I want to see this person. I got to squeeze them in. Right. And so you can kind of flip the script on your customers that way. Okay. And then just making sure you have the phone time in your schedule. Like, get in the habit of not just putting in when you want to do the demos, but the best reps put in when they're going to make calls. See, the really cool thing about this opportunity that all of you have this summer is that you have autonomy. And autonomy means I can pick and choose when to work. But one of the things that a lot of people, when they get autonomy for the first time, aren't really great at is they're not really great at knowing when to put the boss hat on and knowing when to put the worker hat on. Because if I only ever put the boss hat on, what I actually am not doing is I'm not making progress. So for context, is knowing when to put the boss hat on is at the beginning of the week when you're deciding how many do I want to do, when do I want to do them, and when am I making calls? That's putting the boss hat on, is creating the schedule and partnering with your manager to do that. Putting the worker's hat on is that when it's Tuesday morning and you said, I'm going to do 10 before 10 and make 10 calls before 10, putting the worker's hat on is actually fulfilling that, like following through on what the schedule says. Someone said this at some point. I don't know if it was a conference or an audio I listened to, but I just remember hearing when I was a rep is you have to treat your schedule like a dog. You have to be like a dog, basically. When you say sit, what does the dog do? It sits. It should sit, right? When you say shake a paw, what does the dog do? Shakes a paw. So when your schedule says make calls, what should you do? Make calls, right? And again, easier said than done, but having that mapped out is the first part. Okay. The second thing, some of you guys touched on this today, which is great, right? Is referrals, recos, and leads. You can never in this business have more than enough people to call. And I know for a fact, some of you, this is like the fourth time you've heard this in the last 7 days. I'm like, great. Okay. So memorize your approach. Okay. Go back to your initials list, especially if you guys have been around a little bit longer. It's never, you're never around long enough to go back to the drawing board to go, who else could I show that I haven't shown? Right? Or who else do I have on my chickens list that I know I could show? I could get their number. I could ask somebody, an aunt, uncle, mom, like someone can connect me to that person where I can get in front of them this weekend. I even heard Clarice say, and I had a manager retreat in Kelowna this weekend. She said, there's this girl that my mom knows that lives in West Van that I need to do a demo for this summer. And this is Clarice's 4th summer. So I want you to be thinking about like, who else could you get to on your names list that you haven't gotten to yet, that you don't want someone else to beat you to, right? That would suck if someone did a demo for them before you. Okay. Qualifying to build the business you desire. So qualifying is not just about doing it because you're supposed to, but if you really understand why we qualify, it allows you to really lean on the fact that birds of a feather flock together. And when you qualify properly, you can consistently be showing Cutco to the people and your best Mac customers in the areas of the city that you want to be in, for the types of customers you want to be showing Cutco to, right? That's what allows you to really to kind of keep leveling up your database of customers. And then having the mindset of I can never have enough leads. Because I still remember my 3rd summer, I was coaching, and I've shared this story with some of you, but I was coaching and working with Vonnie as her mentee. And that was something she taught me that summer. Is I had gotten to a point where I did 63 appointments for the SC2 push that summer. And during the push is when I got complacent because I had so many demos in my schedule. I was like, I'll be fine. And then Vonnie was like, dude, you have to ask for leads like you never have any because And that's also why thinking about the business a little bit more long term than maybe you're thinking of it right now will always serve you. Because most of you actually don't know what you're going to be doing next fall, next summer. And it's not about you being here. Some of you are very well might still be here. Awesome. And you'll have more leads. But some of you might do something like Carson, where you'll sell for a summer, maybe you go to school and then you're back, right? And knowing what Carson, knowing what you know now, wouldn't you say that through your first few summers selling Cutco, having that mentality of never enough leads would totally benefit you right now today?
Yeah, 100%. It's always good to like have names and numbers. I came back and, had a decent amount of leads still to call. I wish I had more, honestly, but it's still nice to have those all, in a nice database where I could just go back to that
Yeah,
and try and get some momentum going.
absolutely. And you probably had that mentality before, which has allowed you to, right, last summer come back from school, sell 70 grand for the summer, or just under 70, right? And so having that mentality of I never have enough people to call. And it puts you in a place of abundance. And that's really where you want to be. Like I had a friend say to me the other day he's like, when I order chicken, I order like 4 packs of chicken. He's like, when I go to Costco to buy honey, I buy 7 things of honey. I'm like, what? Why? He's like, I never want to reach for something, and not be able to have it. So I always have extra. I was like, okay, that's cool. Like always having more than enough leads to call gives you the ultimate flexibility because you can do demos when you want, however many you want, in the areas that you want, at the times of the day that you want, when you can get good at qualifying and having lots of leads. Okay. Okay, let's talk about growth for a second here, right? Personally and professionally, right? What are you, and you guys heard Finn talk about this today. What are you doing on a consistent basis? And it doesn't need to be like, I've sometimes I've heard newer reps say like, oh, I make calls every day. And maybe they made a lot of phone calls in the summer or when that time period that they're talking about, but it doesn't need to be every day. It just needs to be consistent, right? What's better than um it's and I shared this at SC1 this year. It's not about how much you can focus, but it's how long you can stay focused for, right? So what does your schedule look like on a daily and weekly basis that jives with consistency in terms of how you're growing, right? How often are you consistently making calls? And if you find yourself where you're not consistently making calls, then the question is, okay, well, what's holding me back? What holds me back from being able to consistently make calls? Right? And then you can solve that solution, right? Is it, oh, I don't feel like it. Okay, go to the office or do it with someone else. There's usually something behind that, right? Consistently doing demos. What are you doing to continue to grow personally so that you have more energy to do the things that you want to do? I think most of you could probably relate to this, but a lot of the times we don't want more time to do the things we want to do, but we actually want more energy to do the things we want to do. So what that looks like is your schedule is set up perfectly for you to hit your goals. But maybe you get home from a long day or you had a bad sleep the night before, so you don't feel like you have the motivation or the energy to do the thing you need to be doing. And that's something I've always loved about our business is that the business gives you what you are, what you put into it. And so if you feel like, hey, at times I don't feel like I have the best energy to fulfill the goals I have for myself this summer, then it's worth asking, what am I doing to fuel my brain with the right things so that I have more energy? Because you guys know we can create energy. Like you can give yourself more. There are things you can do to give yourself more energy. Things like how you're fueling your brain, right? Things you decide to listen to. I saw in Kesla's story, just listening to Rob Dowell's podcast yesterday was really cool to see. The books you decide to read. Guys, I still remember hearing Joe Cardillo, who you guys are going to meet at SC2, by the way. But Joe, our general manager, said when I think I was 18, I heard him say, readers are leaders. I was like, what? And I remember reading one of my very first books that I ever picked up was Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And in the book, he talks about how you can build cash flow and create passive investments so that you don't have to live the rest of your life through an earned income, where basically you can create what we call financial freedom. And I remember reading that book, and that gave me so much energy to hit my goals at Vector because I had other goals outside of Vector that I wanted to hit. Right. So sometimes it's not directly like you search up a podcast, how to sell more knives, that's going to fuel you to, but it's sometimes they're indirect things that you're fueling your stuff, your brain with positive things that get you excited about building your businesses. Right. And the way that you fuel your body, I mean, Courtney, this is the convo we had. We had such a great convo 3 weeks ago. And then you followed that up by your best week, right? And then 2 weeks on the newsletter now, right? Just like if ever you guys feel like, I mean, I don't feel like I have the energy or the motivation, what I would ask first is, how are you sleeping? How much water are you drinking? What type of food are you eating? Those are and how often are you exercising, right? Because I don't, who here grew up thinking or being taught that to get energy, you have to eat food? Right? Like that was what my dad used to say to me before my hockey games all the time. You got to get some chicken and some pasta in you before a game, like right before a game, so you have energy. That actually is super not true because when you eat a lot of food, your body needs to digest it. So your body is using blood and energy to digest the food, especially if it's heavy carb like rice and flour, breads, those sort of things, right? So if you want more energy, you have to be conscious about the things you put in your body, right? Have you guys ever tried this before where you go eat a bunch of junk food and then you just kind of then you just grab a pen and paper? I don't know why I ask if you've probably, maybe you haven't, but then you grab a blank pen and paper and you just journal how you feel 10 minutes after you eat a bunch of junk food. You never feel great, right? Right. So knowing how, being aware of the things that you fuel into your brain and your body affect how much energy you have. Daily contact with your coach, right? Think about all the greatest at anything they've ever done. I'm not just talking about business, but you think about relationships, the greatest pastors in the world, the greatest athletes in the world, the greatest business leaders, mentors, right? They all have great mentors and coaches. Why? Because we all need accountability. And when we're pursuing something hard, it's always good to have someone who's been there to go, hey, you're on the right path. Okay. So I encourage you guys to be thinking about how can you be connecting and in conversation with your coaches and your mentors often, okay? Because that helps. And then the last thing is gratitude. Guys, I was in an Uber on my way home yesterday, and I was just reflecting on like how lucky I am, how grateful I am to be living in Canada. With like I was just and instantaneously, I was like less stressed. I was it's hard to be anxious or stressed about the things that are going on when you're just grateful for what you have. So have an attitude of gratitude, learn to appreciate things. And one of the ways you can do that, guys, and this is a really great habit you can start where we teach people in Key Staff to do this, is when you guys do a demo for a customer, send them a thank you card after the demo. Send them a handwritten note, okay, that says, Mr. or Mrs. Jones, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to connect with me for the demo last week. I know it probably didn't mean a lot to you, but it did to me, and I really appreciate it. Thanks for your time. And then you can stick like a Band-Aid in there. What do most people, guys, team, what do most people get in the mail?
Ads.
Ads, junk, bills, right? So when they get a thank you card from the Cutco guy or gal that was at their house 2 weeks ago in the mail that just says thank you for their time, they're going to, like, what salesperson does that? They're going to be so impressed, right? And guess what? And you don't do it because it creates more sales, but does it create more sales? Absolutely. Because what happened by you sending the thank you card, now you're top of mind for the customer. And what top of mind means is that the next time they have family over at their house and someone says, "Oh my God, Siobhan, that set is so awesome. Where did you get that?" Your customer goes, "Oh my God, you got to call my rep, Carson. He's so awesome. Here's his number. Call him. He'll get you a demo. He'll give you a deal." So you're staying top of mind with your customers, right? And you just never know what your customers, how they can connect you to, whether it's a business order, your biggest sale yet, a kitchen order, you just never know. And here's the deal. Doing that, the thank you cards, is easy to do, easy not to do. Right? And so when you think about foundational habits for successful reps, is they do the things consistently that are easy to do and they just get them done. Right? And so I'm going to challenge you guys, when can you put in your schedule where on a weekly basis you send thank you cards to all the demos and sales you made from the previous week? And I don't have time to dive into the story right now, but some of you have maybe heard about there's a Cutco rep called John Israel. He has a podcast on changing lives selling knives where he shares a story of how valuable those thank you cards are. But you should go listen to it. So John Israel, Changing Lives Selling Knives. It's a good clip to listen to. Right? And then the last thing here, team, is dream. Okay. Know and share your why. Okay. Know what you want and share your why with your customers. And make sure your goals are SMART. So SMART is an acronym for make sure your goals are specific. Right? So when you think about like even a demo goal for the week, something as simple as that, make sure it's specific, right? You know exactly what you're working towards. Make sure it's measurable, right? Attainable. So what does attainable mean? It means that you believe you can hit it. You don't want to set goals that you don't truly believe you can hit, because what happens is when we set goals so far out of our reach, and I'm all about thinking big, but when we set goals so far out of our reach and we don't even believe we can hit it, we just don't even follow through at all. So it's better to have a goal that you're fully committed to, that you believe you can hit, that you're fully committed to making happen, versus picking something so large and far away and giving up halfway because you don't believe you can hit it, right? And sometimes we have to adjust, and that's okay, right? You want to make sure your goals and your dreams are relevant, right? So relevant means you know why you want that, right? So if someone said to me, "Oh, John, I want to buy this car," and if I said why, and they didn't they didn't know why they wanted a certain thing, right? And then lastly is time bound. Did you guys know that goals that are written down, there's a study done at Harvard, okay? Actually, don't quote me on this, but goals that were written down were proven to be like 80% more likely to happen when they're written down with a time commitment. So write down your goals. And that's also why it's so powerful for you to share those at the beginning of your demos, sharing what your goals are and why you want them. Because not only are you telling your customers about them, but who are you reminding about the goals? Yeah, you're reminding yourself, this is what I want, this is why, right? And there's a saying, right? When your why has heart, the how gets legs. So share these with yourself daily. Share these goals with your clients, with your coaches, and with your colleagues. That's why we started Key Staff today, and I had you guys share your goals for the summer. Because when we make goals, when we write them down, they're more likely to happen. But when we make goals in community and we share them, they're even more likely to happen. So keep sharing those things. Okay. Thoughts, questions? I'm going to post this handout that I just covered with you guys in the chat. You're welcome to save it. And then let's dive right into some public speaking, my public speaking workshop. before we dive into the next one, any takeaways or light bulb moments? I'd love for you guys to share any takeaways or maybe action steps you're going to take after this call to implement into your calendar. I'd love for you guys to unmute and share.
I'm gonna write how much I'm gonna sell and put it on like a little note on my wall in front of me.
Awesome. How much you're going to sell this week, this summer?
This month.
Okay, awesome. Lovely. Cool. So you'll remind yourself of that daily, right? That's awesome. Carson, go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm gonna put more stuff in my schedule. Like, let's say I used to just not put in if I had rugby or bagpipes. So I'll just put those in just so I know that they're going to happen and I know what's occurring during those times.
Yeah, so just some time management stuff like putting everything into the schedule. What are you using right now to organize your schedule and your time, Carson?
Google Calendar right now.
Right. And so putting everything in, and then being able to add a week. When you're making calls, do you have your Google Calendar pulled up?
Yeah, that's what I have on my computer, my sheets, and then my phone.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Great.
I'd
Okay.
say just like the importance of like booking ahead more, like you said with like the dentist appointment. Like you don't book a dentist appointment the day you're doing it. So just like looking more in advance.
Yeah. And what helps with that, Finn, is consistency. When you're consistently making calls, if you have 0 demos this week and you're making calls today, when do you want to book the demos for?
Like 3 to 4 days from now.
Yeah, you want to fill it ASAP, like tonight, tomorrow, Thursday, right? If you're already booked tonight, tomorrow, Thursday with your demos, then you can start booking for the weekend. And then every time you're making calls, you're actually just keeping your schedule full ahead versus scrambling to get one tonight or tomorrow. Does that make sense? Right? So consistency allows you to do that, which is awesome, right? Awesome. Okay. Okay, so this is going to be an intro to public speaking. We will follow it up with the part 2. And then, because I won't have time to go through the entire thing, but I at least want to introduce it and give you guys some keys so that when you get asked, again, it's a privilege to be able to impact and speak and deliver on stage. Oh, I will make that doc, guys. I will make it public right now. So anyone that wants to save that, you can. Thanks, Liam. It should be public now. Okay. Who's had an opportunity just by show of hands to speak at any type of function, whether that be in class, conference, vector, non-vector? Awesome. Cool. Okay. Did you guys know, what do you think is the #1 fear in all of North America?
Public speaking.
Yeah. Do you guys know that? More than like spiders and dying, actually, is public speaking. So and there's reasons why, but public speaking is a learned skill. You're not born with it. And if you can practice and get comfortable speaking, man, that's a skill that you'll take with you wherever you go. And you don't have to be in sales to be able to utilize public speaking skills. Like I think about a lawyer needs to public speak in front of a crowd and a jury, right? You guys ever watched the Denzel Washington graduation speech? Right? He's an actor, so he's not in sales, but he's public speaking, right? Engineers need to present. Like my friend who works in insurance had to give a presentation a few weeks ago. He was super nervous, right? So public speaking shows up in a lot of places. So I'm going to give you guys this handout, okay? But a couple of lessons that you want to unlearn before we dive in, right? You maybe have heard people say before, focus on the dot in the back of the room, or picture the audience naked. I remember actually my social studies teachers told me to do that, but not true. So unlearn that, okay? So I do have some opinions that I'd like to share with you that will really help with you guys when it comes to giving, when you get an opportunity to speak. Okay. So the first thing is when you're asked to give a message, whether it's a workshop, at a team meeting, a conference, or any other event, you want to put the message together, right? You've probably maybe heard someone say before, I'm just going to wing it. I got this. Okay. No one is ever as good when they wing it. Okay. Especially someone with no experience, guys. When they say, I'm going to wing it, you should look at them weird. Okay. No one is ever as good, even when they have experience winging it, right? Because writing the message allows you to put some thought into who's my audience? What do I want to teach? What's the purpose of my message? What am I being asked to say? Right? So you always want to give yourself some time to prepare when you're doing a message. What this allows you to do is do research. You can collect data. You can write a story. It allows you to do that leading up to it. And a great way to do this is you at first put random initial thoughts down on paper. So one of the things that I always do when I'm asked to speak at any function, and I've been asked even outside of Vector to give messages, is I'll grab a blank slate and I just brain dump basically all of the initial thoughts that I have when I'm thinking about what I want to explain, okay, and what do I want to teach. Don't worry if you don't use it all, even if it's the first draft, let your mind freely on all facets of the subject and start to assemble it when you're done with the research and all the random thoughts that you come up with. The other reason why it's good to prepare in advance when you're asked to give a message is that in my experience, when I'm asked to give a message, so if I'm giving, and I know I'm giving a message in a month or 2 months, leading up to when I'm going to be giving a message or getting the opportunity to speak, I always come up with more thoughts randomly. Okay, everyone's a little different, but it allows me to put these thoughts into my message. I'll typically either write it down in my notes on my phone and then I'll add it and transfer it over to the message. Okay. So know your audience. Okay. So leading up, do your homework in advance and find out the traits of your audience to tailor your talk to them. So let's say, for example, this is something everyone can relate to, and you might be able to relate to very soon. Your manager says, hey, Courtney, I'm going to have you give some tips on selling more homemakers to the team. Your first question should be, hey, manager, who's going to be there? Like, what level of in sales am I speaking to? Right? Because that's going to tailor the things you say in your message, right? If you can meet your audience beforehand, introduce yourself to them, that's a little bit more advanced than, this is if you guys are asked to speak at something where you haven't met the people yet, then that could be a good idea to do, right? Knowing your material, right? Don't assume that once the talk is over, right, that the delivery is easy. So once you put your talk together, don't assume just because your talk is put together that you'll be able to deliver it, right? You have to practice, rehearse, right? Confidence comes from being able to practice things, okay? And just keep in mind, like, don't be nervous. You're giving the message for a reason. So if you get asked to speak at a conference, team meeting, whatever, don't be nervous, right? Like, being excited with butterflies is totally okay, and you'll probably have those. But nerves is going to keep you awake and on your game. It shows you care about the message and the audience, okay? Have an outline. This is something that you guys can all jot down, okay? Because I'm not going to have time to go through everything today. I'm going to wrap things up in a minute here. But whenever you're asked to speak, a really good thing to practice is having a strong opening to your message. Because basically, when you're asked to give a message, the first like 3 to 5 minutes is you selling people on why they should listen to you. And not necessarily like hardcore, but you're getting them engaged so they're interested in listening to what you have to say. So the opener is really what shifts their attention to you. Okay, so sometimes you can start with a story or a fact or, to really capture someone's engagement when you're speaking. Have key points throughout your talk. This is something you guys learned in school, right? That if you're going to put something up on a PowerPoint, don't just read everything. Like, have some key points and then you can elaborate on top of those while you're giving the message. And then I'll give you guys this handout, but we're going to wrap up with this right here. Is reminder that communication are not just the words that you say. Look at this here. This is a study that was done that when you're communicating, 38% is vocal use. What does that mean? Like your voice inflection, how fast you speak, how slow, maybe sometimes you slow down to emphasize a point. Maybe you get louder, or maybe you get, more quiet. That's 30% of communication. Check this out. 55% of communication is visual, right? So it's your body language, like how you move your eyebrows or your hands when you're giving a message, right? And then only 7% are the actual words you're speaking, right? So when you're practicing and rehearsing your message, it's good to practice how you're communicating and you want it to get across, okay? So guys, look, there's a bunch of stuff here. Okay, so I'm going to give you this handout. This was just an introduction. This is a great opportunity for many of you to learn fundamental skills just like this summer. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. Go ahead and save it. And so next time you're asked to give a message, you can pull this up and go, hey, I'm going to utilize this document to help me prepare for my talk. All right. Okay. I'm going to create a key staff group chat that you guys will be in. So I encourage you guys to keep sharing all the positive things, keep utilizing, and again, we're in business for yourself, but you don't have to do it by yourself. So I encourage you guys, like with other key staff members in CanRock, keep using each other to push each other to be better, challenge each other, make calls together, uplift each other, do the job together. You don't have to do it by yourself, no matter where you are in the country. All right. Okay. If you have any thoughts or questions, feel free to stick on. If not, we're at the top of the hour. Oh, last thing. I got something for you guys next week. Okay. I'm going to go through two things. Next week's going to be a fire key staff meeting, so you won't want to miss it. Okay. But I'm going to go through two things. First, I'm going to invite a good friend of mine who his biggest push week ever. Tegan, you inspired me to do this, so this is for you, and everyone's going to benefit from it. But his best push week ever, he did close to, I think he did over 50 appointments, sold over 52,000 in a push week. So I'm going to have him come share kind of the breakdown of how he did that. And then I'm going to walk you guys through how to have a six-figure sales month. Okay. So this is one of my favorite workshops. So it's pretty advanced stuff, but leading up to SC2, I want to give you guys the goods to help you get ready for a big push. So same time next Tuesday, key staff 3 to 4 Mountain Standard Time. Okay. Just make sure you have it in your schedule. Make sure you guys have the prep meeting in your schedule. Oh, and friends and family info session. Does everyone know when that is? Okay. Just make sure mom and dad know, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, check your emails. Okay. You're going to get an invite next Thursday, 6:30 Mountain. Okay. Be on, make sure mom and dad are there. It'll make a big impact on your opportunity, your experience, and I'd love to be able to meet them too. Cool. Okay. All right. If you guys have any questions, you're cool to stay on.